Welcome to the Make and Design podcast. I'm your host, Carina Gardner, and today I thought I would take a few steps back and talk about what it's like to be a designer who is a mom. Now, not every designer is a mom, there are plenty that are not. And so if you're listening to this episode, maybe you would add in spouse, pets, any loved ones that maybe you take care of. There are a number of people who do take care of family members. And so you have a lot of responsibilities going on in your life that maybe don't have anything to do with motherhood, but have to do with caring and taking care of people in your lives. But the reason I'm kind of talking about momming is because that's where I'm coming from. I haven't had to take care of an aging parent yet. And I haven't had nieces and nephews that I've had to care for. And so I can only come at this from where I know it to be, which is how I started my design career while I did, all the duties that have to do with being a mom. So my hope is that this episode is helpful for everyone, and that you're able to take away some tactical moments, and that I get a moment here to be a little vulnerable with you and share with you some of the things that I've had to kind of dig in and figure out for myself. So I actually got into becoming a designer because I figured that no matter what, whether I owned my own business or I freelanced or I taught college, that I was going to be able to stay at home and raise my kids. So I started my design business at, if you're listening to this in real time, 17 and a half years ago, which happens to be just a few months younger than my second child. So she was in her first year of life, 6 months in or so, when I started my business. And my oldest is about 3 years older than that. So I had a toddler and a baby when I started my design business. This is a good and a bad thing. I mean, talk about, you guys remember how it was, those of you who have had small children. It's rough. It's really, really rough. My kids were really great kids. I've always had relatively good babies, like not colicky babies, but it was still extremely rough. So I can't even imagine what it would be like if I had babies that were really difficult. Anyway, I was teaching at the University of Minnesota at the time. I was teaching mostly typography, and then I was teaching their juniors because I had finished my PhD, and I was teaching their packaging design class. And I was living on campus. We lived in student housing for families, so I could walk up to my campus. The University of Minnesota is interesting. It has three campuses. So it has the East Bank, the West Bank, and then the St. Paul campus. And we lived on the St. Paul campus, and my husband would take a bus over to the East Bank where his coursework was. But it might have been the West Bank at that point. Josh did a master's and didn't finish. He was all but thesis and then started his law degree. And we stayed at the University of Minnesota for all of that. So he was always taking the bus over to where he had to go. And then I would walk up to the St. Paul campus so I could teach because that's where the design department was located. I did all kinds of crazy things during that time period because we didn't have any money, like trades with other families for watching children. That's a good and a bad thing. I mean, it was awesome because my kids always had play dates. It was a bad thing because if I was not actually working myself, it means I was watching not two kids, but usually four kids, and trying to juggle that along with, working and trying to start my business. So, I talk about in Design Boot Camp, which if you've been to Design Boot Camp, I talk about how I got started, but I don't get into the details of just really how rough it was. I think a lot of people think that, when I created as many products as I did the first year, when I tell the story, they think, oh, she was just like, she was a great designer, so she was able to do it. I don't talk about the fact that I did it with extremely small children, usually with watching other people's children, and then grading and doing all those things for the university while I was at home, and then going up to campus and teaching. So trying to be on top of all of my lectures on top of everything else. It was a difficult time. to say the least. And then Josh was in law school, so we never saw him. He was he was quite busy, and so I felt like a single parent, but I wasn't, so that was good. I had little kids and friends, and it was just hard, you guys. Like, I look back on it and I think, wow, that was so hard. And you might be like, but when did you do it? And the answer is, I just had to get really, really organized. I also had to give myself a lot of grace. I'm going to tell you this, my place was a mess half the time. Actually, my place is still a mess, and I love things to be organized, but I couldn't be on top of everything. To this day, I hear people talk about how they do laundry, and I'm like, I don't do laundry at my house. Every family member of my house does their own laundry, and they have been at least by the age of 8 or 9. Like, they have their own laundry basket. We teach them how to do their own laundry. They put it away. If it's not put away well, I don't care. Like, it doesn't get folded up, it gets stuffed, so be it. But everyone does their own laundry in our house. And that had to do with just being a mom. Like, I was like, I can't take care of everything. I can make dinner. I can go grocery shopping. The kids went with me for that. I would work every second that the kids were napping. I put my kids to bed early so I could work in the evenings, and that's how I did it. And it was rough, but I'm going to tell you this, it's doable. I think a lot of people, like, you get to a place and you're just like, well, this just feels too hard. You know what? Hard things are good for us. Hard things mean that everything else is going to be much easier. And I think that was what this time period was really about. So I have 3 kids in total. And by the time the third one came around, I was actually the creative director at Cartabella. And during that time period, it was once again hard because now I had a design agency that worked for Cartabella. I had 3 kids, one of which I was pregnant during the start of Cartabella, and I was still running my own design businesses. On top of that, pretty soon after, we started the company Mini Lou, which was our kids' company. And so I had a lot of things I was juggling, and Josh was working full time. So what did I do? So if you're like, Carina, I need some tactical ways so I can manage my life, whether it's with kids or loved ones you're taking care of or anything else, the number one piece of advice I can give you is to literally make sure that you plan out your day. Now, does your plan get disrupted? The answer is yes. But really the best thing I did was plan out my day. So I would look at my day the previous day, and I would look at it and go, okay, well, I've got to go grocery shopping. And oh my gosh, you guys, now we do like pickup, like where we either have delivery or pickup. I can't even imagine having that. Like, that, it sounds like a dream come true. I could have gotten even more done. But, I had grocery shopping, I had dinner prep, the kids, and cleaning, and then working on top of it. And then, of course, like hanging out with my kids, doing stuff with them. So what I would do is I'd look at my day before, and I would just kind of fit in, time block all the things that needed to happen, and all the errands that need to be run, along with, kids' appointments and school things and all of that. What I found is for many, many years, the only time I could really, truly work was from 7 p.m. to midnight every night. And that's a 5-hour workday for a really, really busy mom. But I will tell you this, I had no hobbies. I didn't watch TV. I didn't, I just made sacrifices in order to make it work. It's really different than my life now. My kids are much older because I had my children relatively young, and they are pretty self-sufficient. My youngest is 12 at this point, and, even him, he will hang out with me in the barn and be upstairs watching a show or something so that we're nearby, and then I can feed him and, we're good to go. But those early days were really, really trying. So let me tell you a couple of things I did. So one of the time blocks I did was 7 p.m. to midnight. That was one of my blocks that I worked for many years. Another set of blocks I did when the kids were young teenagers and Charlie was actually still really young. One of the blocks I did was 5 a.m. to 7. So I did a 2-hour block first thing in the morning. And then my kids were all in school at this point, except for Charlie had preschool. So that was a little bit tough. But my oldest daughter, I've talked about a little bit, she's autistic. So we sent her to a charter school for kids on the spectrum that was 30 minutes away. Now, 30 minutes doesn't sound like that much, but what it ended up being was 30 minutes of me driving her there, 30 minutes coming home, and then 30 minutes of going and picking her up, and 30 minutes coming home. So it turned into 2 hours every single day. And if you're wondering how I read or listened to so many books, that was part of it. We listened to a lot of books. So I would, from 7 to 9 would be my time period. I would get kids up, ready for school. I would get my oldest, I would do the drive after I put the other two in their school. For a little while, my youngest had to come with us, because preschool hadn't started yet, or if I could get him to preschool first, I would come home and I would work at 9. And then I would do that same thing again at 2, 1:30 to 2. So I'd work from 9 to 1. So in order to get all the hours I needed, I would work from 5 to 7. So I got 2 hours there. Then I'd work from 9 to about 1:30. So I would get another, what was that? 10, 11, 12, 1, 4.5 hours in. Okay. So I'm like getting a 6.5 hour day. Then, by that time, 2 rolls around. It's like picking up all the kids from school, getting them to their activities. So I would sit down at my desk again when I'd put the kids to bed at 8, from 8 to about 10. And that's how I got in like an 8.5 hour work day. And then I would work on Saturdays and Sundays for 5 to 10 hours because those were days that Josh could be home and helping me with the kids. Now, you might be like, Carina, I do not want to do my life like that. Good job. Most of you will not have to. That is just what I did in order to, because I was running so many different entities. If I hadn't been running all of those entities, if I had just been designing, I'm sure I could have done quite a bit less. So hopefully that helps a little bit. But like the takeaway isn't to work more, you guys. The takeaway isn't, oh, I have to work so many hours, because that's actually not, that shouldn't be the takeaway. The takeaway is, your schedule. You know what you have to work around. It might be kids. It might be loved ones. It might be care. It might be a spouse. It might be a boyfriend. It could be your pets. It could be anything, you guys. You know what you have to work around. And so what you're going to do is you're going to build a schedule that makes sense for you. You're not going to use my schedule, because I'm not even on that schedule anymore, right? Like every phase of my life, it became different. Now I work a regular work day because my kids are older. I start at 8, I'm done at 5, right? Like I can work a regular work day, but that wasn't always the case. And I think that a lot of us regret or we're upset when we can't work a regular work day, when the truth is, it actually doesn't matter where you get your time in, as long as you can get your time in. For you, it might be early morning because you are an early bird and you get the most and best work done early in the morning. Some of you are night owls. If that's the case, maybe an 8 to midnight or an 8 to 1 is going to be better for you. Some of you have daytime and you are like, I just have to be around for my kids with disabilities or my grown-up kids or grandkids or whatever. And so you just need to build out your schedule so that it works with them. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, I did hear of this mentor who said, oh, I always work from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And some of the people were like, oh, those are the perfect hours. That's what I'm going to copy that. And they were like, this doesn't work for us. And it's like, well, duh, it didn't work for you because you don't have the same thing going on as whoever this mentor is. Like she had kids in school, so 9 to 2 made the most sense. If you don't have kids in school, those might not be your perfect hours. You might find that you are an early bird and you want to work from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., right? Like those might be your fantastic hours. And then the rest of your day is open and free. There is no judgment about the hours that you're working, especially as a creative, because you need to find your most creative hours. You need to find when it's going to work the best for you. No one else's hours, like don't look out there for everyone else's hours. I only am giving you examples of what I did to help you see that at every stage of my life, it's been different. And the main thing is that I plan it. The night before, I know what my next day looks like. I wake up and I know exactly. I'm not planning my day first thing in the morning, guys. That's not happening. I'm planning my day the day before or the week before. That way I know what my whole week looks like. I can plan for it. I know when my hours are going to be. My favorite is a week. You guys, I will tell you, a whole week, because my brain can't comprehend an entire month. It really struggles with that. But a whole week, yeah, I can kind of look at my whole week and know what's going on, and definitely a single day. And so if you can just get into planning that, it will make a huge difference. Now, I do have some resources. If you're like, oh man, I struggle to do this on my own, we actually sell a book that was built directly for Design Suite that you're welcome to go and purchase. It's available on Amazon. It's called the Design Suite Daily Planner. It's actually a very open planning session. And what I would recommend you do is we have some free videos that teaches you about daily planning and the way we like to do it in Design Suite. So if you're like interested in that, you're like, oh, I really want to learn that, all you have to do is go to designsuitecourses.com/dailyplanner. And you'll see some of my books there. Go down, you can see there are videos there for free for you to watch to show you how we do daily planning, and then links to Amazon if you're interested in a daily planner book, but only if you want it. We just made them because they're pretty. You can do it on a spiral notebook. That's the way I did it for years. I can do it on a legal pad. That's great. It's no big deal. I will tell you, everyone in my family, like my girls and I, we all use the Design Suite Daily Planner, even my girls that are young, because they love it. They love the way it's set up. It's really easy for them for college so that they can get planning. And, I will say neither one of them, I would say, are like stellar planners, but this has really helped them get organized. And if organization is something you really want some help with, a daily planner, a Design Suite Daily Planner will help you with that. So, but only if you watch the videos, because you're going to be like, whoa, these are all blank. What does this mean? So watch the videos. Okay. I hope this was helpful. I hope that some of you are kind of like wiping away the feeling of like you're not doing it the way regular designers are doing it, which by the way doesn't exist, and giving yourself some forgiveness and finding the perfect schedule for you. And the perfect schedule for you might not be working from 7 to 9 every single day. It might be on Mondays working from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. and on Tuesdays working from 7 p.m. to midnight, right? Like you get to figure out what that synergy or routine looks like. And for a lot of us, because of the way our schedules are, it can be anything we want it to be. We just have to plan it and put it on the books so that we can get that design time in. At the beginning of our businesses, you guys, at the beginning of our businesses, the fuel to your business is your time. That's it. Not a lot of money, not a lot of other things. Like it is just time. Your business just needs your time. So at the beginning, planning out your time is the most important thing. And that's why I came on to talk about it in this podcast, because so many of you are not prioritizing putting time into your business. And that is really what you need to do. So hopefully that helped. You guys still, 17 and a half years later, I am still planning my days, by the hour, if not by the 15 minutes, so that I am planning wisely.
Want to hang out more? Go to designsuitecourses.com/free to get our weekly freebies and patterns, die cut files, and more. Can't wait to see you there.